Alright, continuing on with our series of what guitarists sound like up close and personal without their bands, sometimes just picking up their guitars during an interview, playing backstage, or doing a demonstration video, something of this nature. Today, we're going to take a look at Lemmy Kilmister, who is a bass player, of course, most famous for being the founding member, central songwriter, singer, and visionary behind the band Motorhead that he led from 1975 until his death in 2015. He was also a member of the band Hawkwind, which he was in from 1971 to 1975. In addition to his highly distinctive, highly aggressive bass sound, Lemmy was also known for his vibrant personality, for living the rock and roll lifestyle to a hilt, for being quite outspoken, and for having a signature look, leather-based gear, as well as mutton chops. And he is a larger-than-life character, both in regards to his musical style and personal style. So let's get started right away by listening to a clip from the Lemmy movie, which is called Lemmy's Bass Sound. And if you're a Motorhead fan or a Lemmy fan, you've probably heard this clip before. This is Lemmy demonstrating his signature bass sound. Let's give it a listen. Okay, so the first thing you would notice about Lemmy's sound, of course, is volume. He's a very loud bass player, one of the loudest bass players in history. And something else you would notice is that he doesn't really pick the strings so much as just slam them. He's using a pick, but he doesn't pluck at the strings, he slams at them. Now, what might be less apparent in his playing is that he has a real sense of boogie woogie. He has almost a piano player's sense of how to do that shuffleness, the aggressive shuffleness, but it almost is lost under the thunder of his sound. Now, I want to play another clip for you. This one is called Lemmy Tests a Signature Murder 1 Amp. This is also from the Lemmy movie, and it's important because the Murder 1 amp was Lemmy's favorite amp, and it is a critical element of the sound that he produces. So let's give it a listen right here. The volume, again, is a really important part, but also the grittiness of the tone. A lot of bass players opt for a deep, reverberating, clean sound, whereas Lemmy goes for a very dirty, murky, gritty sound. And I think that this is one of the fundamental elements of what he does as a bass player, is producing this gritty sound. It's going to overlay anything else he does. So because of this sound, he is not likely to branch off into any kind of subtleness or precision. Rather than that, he is going to try to use that heavy, gritty sound to produce an overall effect in your face and gets you to feel as though you're being physically slammed by the music. Now, this last clip is from Lemmy's final interview he gave to Guitar Moves about 4 months before he passed away. At this point, he's in really bad physical shape. He had cancer, he had diabetes, he had any number of diseases that were holding him back, and not long to live. He could barely play the bass, and yet he gave this enthusiastic interview and demonstrated some of his licks. So let's give a listen to that. Okay, even though Lemmy was barely able to play at that point, you can still see that he had stuck completely to his original style, that he's still playing with as much thunder as he can muster, and really his bass playing is more like rhythm guitar playing than it is traditional bass playing. So what can we take away from these clips? What do they show us about Lemmy as a bass player? Well, I think the first thing that they show us is that Lemmy could not have played bass for any other band than Motorhead. In fact, if he had been in any other band than Motorhead, the band would have started to sound like Motorhead, in which case it wouldn't be the band that he joined, it would start to be Motorhead. The second point is that Motorhead could not have had a different bass player, because if they had any other bass player, they would not have sounded like they did, they would not have had their signature style, and in fact they would not even really be that interesting of a band, because it's Lemmy that gives Motorhead most of its momentum, as well as, like I mentioned in the opening of the video, its vision. So the third thing that we can take away from this is that Lemmy is not what anyone would consider a traditionally talented bass player from a technical point of view, but what he is good at doing is producing an overall impact. And this impact that he produces with his bass corresponds to the look, the image, and the band Motorhead. It's all one package. There is no Lemmy outside of that identity, and there is no Lemmy bass style outside of that identity. He's not going to suddenly start playing soft harmonics and melodic Paul McCartney inspired passages on his bass. He's not going to pick up a guitar and strum a soft Spanish lullaby. Instead, he's going to crank everything up to 11 and blast as loud as possible. So if you like this, you'll really like what he does. And if you don't like that kind of rude, in-your-face type sound, then you'll hate everything that Lemmy does on bass. This is what I think, but what really matters is what you think. So if you have an idea about this or any other topic connected to classic or contemporary music, please drop it in the section below. Remember to like and subscribe. Also check out the join button that's available now. If you choose to become a channel member, you'll gain access to members only badges, members only polls, members only videos, and other cool perks you'll see when you click on that button. You can also help out the channel by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link, going to the Buy Me a Coffee site, and leaving a donation. Every little bit helps this channel stay strong. Thanks a lot.